Hi guys, and welcome to another week of Huey Highlights. Today we're taking a look at yet another ship themed game, but oh so completely different from last week's game. This is Abandoned Ship. It was released into early access yesterday, yesterday afternoon our time, and it focuses more on the pirate fantasy world of ships. Strategy, exploration, combat style game. It's probably how I would describe it from my very limited playthrough of it yesterday. So what you get a story, you get a combat campaign, which I'm gonna take a brief look at just in case, just to see what that's all about. A couple of settings, just the credits, whoever made the game, and of course the quit button, which needs no explanation. So let's start from the very top. We'll go with a new campaign. Actually, I'm just going to drop the music down a little bit. So in the settings you get your basic music, sound effects, dialogue setting, etc. So I think for the purposes of the rest of the video we'll drop the music down to quite low, because it does get quite loud. There's lots of crescendos and forte moments in the soundtrack. But yes, so yeah, let's do a new adventure. Let's just call this one YouTube Adventure, which is an apt name, and let's go to play. So you get the tutorials on, you get a difficulty. You can choose from easy, normal and hard. The difficulty affects the rewards you receive from events, including combat. Every difficulty provides a bonus. In hard difficulty, a penalty is given. Normal difficulty has neither a bonus nor a penalty. So rather than focusing on the nature of the ships, the enemy ships that you encounter, it focuses on a bonus or a penalty system depending on the difficulty that you choose. Player generated names. You have the option, this is a tick box option. By signing up to the Abandoned Ship newsletter, you can have your name added to the game. If you tick the box, that all the player generated names from the newsletter will be spawned into the game. I think as well as his game, there's a newsletter produced by the producers, Fireblade, about the game, and you have the option of having your name into the game, which I think is a very good idea, especially as it's extremely early on in the early access process. So with all of that, let's play. I've chosen the tutorials on. This just basically takes you through the essential mechanics of the game, but you do get a bit of background, you do get a bit of backstory attached to this game, and this is it. A wild chorus, the birth of a monster. In that moment, the final strand is cut, a burst of clarity. The horror of your recent existence dawns upon you. Escape is all that you can think of. You may find during the course of this video that I have somewhat difficulty reading the text. That's something we'll get onto later, but it's one of the things that I think they should have included in the options, but we'll discuss that later. The tentacles flower widely in the water. People drop to their knees, some through fear, others with adulation. Their gift is manifest. Their God is manifest. You watch from your position of privilege on a private balcony. You notice your two bodyguards, in inverted commas, are distracted and enraptured. Strike them down. Flee this accursed place. Instinctively grabbing something, you smash down on the head of the first guard. Shocked surprise registers on the second before he too is down. You're unsure whether they are dead or unconscious. You feel a drip from your fingers. You look down at your improvised weapon, a small idol of father. It is cracked and has a cut in your hand. You are drifting, but something inside snaps you back to reality. You have to move fast. The cells offer the safest route to freedom. So you flee. You stride into the prison with feigned authority. No matter, the place is unguarded in their moment of triumph. Escaping alone would be futile, so you grab the keys from the guard room and approach the prisoners. So now, basically, what the story is saying is what happened earlier. All the guards, all the prison guards, are distracted with what's happening out there. So you now get to choose between 5 potential crew members. You only get to have 3 slots, 3 free slots in the beginning. I think as you progress in the game, you do get to unlock more slots, so you have the option of getting more crew. So you either have the option of unlocking a navigator, who we will. You can unlock a gunner, who we also will, and then you can also unlock a marine, similar to a gunner, but more in like a hand-to-hand more proficient in a hand-to-hand combat role. Surgeon obviously is a no-brainer, no pun intended, and the sailor repairs the ship. So each has a different strength attached to them, just like your typical role-play game. You get to choose people who carry their own individual strengths and attributes. So I think we've covered the most part there. We've got the navigator, the gunner, and the surgeon. So they are the 3 people we're going to release from prison, and the story continues. You and your new companions surge through the labyrinth passage. Finally, a door. Lights shine, seeps in through the cracks in the frame, and then you burst through the door. You close your eyes for a moment, and the sea breeze lashes your face. Looking down the winding path ahead, you see what you'd hoped for: a ship in anchor. It was likely stolen and repurposed by the cult. Time to put it to better use. So basically, the cult, in a nutshell, are the bad guys. You know, even though you're pirates, they are chasing you, they are pursuing you. You've broken free from jail. You've set a couple of people free. You're fugitives on the ocean, so you're going to be pursued naturally. So this is it. This is the basic view that you get, especially in combat, and the tutorial instructions appear in the top right there. So you have the option to, at the moment, you do have an option to move the camera around, but it's fixed at the moment. So you select the crew. So let's select the this gentleman here, and it says move the crew by right clicking. So you can move him to that part of the key, and then you can board the ship. Now move all the crew onto the ship. So to save you doing it one at a time, you can do like a group click just by highlighting that and then just clicking on there, and then they'll all leap onto the ship. So that animation is really nice. I like what they've done there. I like the attention to detail. And now you have to cut the ropes. So choose somebody to do that. So we'll choose him, and then you go up to here, and you get this little symbol. It's like a green pair of cutlasses or a green pair of swords, indicating that the rope is ready to cut. Ready to be cut. Again, it's nice. It's a nice attention to detail that the game gets you to do this manually rather than automatically unmooring you from wherever it is that you're docked. So now you choose another crew member. I've chosen my navigator to man the steering wheel or the wheel of the ship, not the steering wheel. And the ship set sail. So, dozens of furious cultists charge the jetty as you pull away because they're pursuing us. A high priest at their head. His scream reaches your ears and drips with scorn. Heed me, betrayer. Our Father knows and sees you always. You will never escape his embrace. As he speaks, the other cultists disperse, no doubt to begin their pursuit on their own vessels. They'll be sending ships after us. Let's get out of here. So now the game introduces you to the very first, the fundamentals of combat, which is one of the more important aspects of this game. The coastal fortifications open fire on the ship as it leaves the jetty. Mortar shells are incoming! There we are. Four shots of slammed into our vessel. A mortar shell has reduced a crew member to 0 health. When this happens, you have a short time to stabilise them. When a crew member is stabilised, they will remain unconscious throughout the battle, but will survive. If you do not stabilise them in time, they will die. But don't worry, in this instance, we will freeze the bar before it runs out. So basically, let me just pause the game. You have here your crew members. These indicate their health. You can see here that our Marine was absolutely walloped by one of the mortars, bore the brunt of the mortar shells, so his health is low. So what you need to do is then you need to click on ideally the surgeon, as he's the one with the relevant skills, and then go over to the injured crew member to revive him. And as the game says, he will now remain unconscious and will not participate in the battle. The barrage has damaged the ship hull. In the bottom left of the screen is a bar that shows the hull health. If this bar is emptied, then the ship will sink. So the ship is divided into sections. In the bottom right, the sections and their individual health are displayed. Section health influences the performance of everything in that section. Yellow health means it is 50% effective, and red health means that it won't function at all. So now we need to repair this particular section. So we've only got 3 crew members, we'll get our surgeon to perform a little bit of manual labour on the ship. So that's the mast the main mast he's repairing. It's not displayed in the game when you go into combat mode. All you get is the foundations, which is what you see before you. It's displayed when you go into exploration mode, but we'll come on to that later. So he's slowly repairing it. We'll give him a hand. Oh no, he's actually repaired it. And now you need to go to this front of the ship, and let's see what we've got. The gunner here was injured in the bombardment, so we'll go in and give him some health. We'll heal him up, so to speak. So now we get another round of mortar shelling. So brace for impact. 2 this time. We have been hit by a weapon that causes hull cracks. These splinter the deck and make the ship take on water. There is a water gauge above the hull health. If this reaches the top, the ship will sink. So that will go from left to right. So there are 2 parts to dealing with water damaged weapons. Listen to the ship bell. This will warn you when your water gauge has reached critical levels. The bell will tell you when your hull health is dangerously low. Act decisively when you hear the bell or you will sink. So again, that's another nice attention to detail there. Simulates a ship's bell, which I think most pirate ships of old used to carry, or most sailing ships, to indicate like a danger on the ship or something similar. So you repair your hull cracks. Let's get the surgeon to do that, and we'll get the gunner to repair the other one next to the stern of the ship. So the second thing is to now empty the water gauge. So this lets out all the water that you've taken on board back into the sea. So we've actually taken one person away from the wheel there, and that's all the water that you've taken on board back to the sea. So there we have a third and final bombardment. This introduces you to another type of weapon that the game offers. Namely, fire. We've been attacked by a weapon with flaming ammunition and a fire has broken out. Fires damage sections and injure crew. They will spread unless your crew stops them. So we'll get our 2 guys doing that. Oh, they're all doing it. Let's take that one back to the thing. And we'll get him to do that one. Or we'll get both of them to put out that fire. So that's the fires put out. We're out of range, but stay alert, men. So now that's basically the first round of combat that you get introduced to in the game. The second main combat, which we'll see later, is when you broadside other ships, but that's basically dealing with mortar shells fired from from land fortifications. So let's leave the combat area. So this is the map. This is the exploration map. So as you can see, we are here That's our home port that we've left from. So this is the exploration map, and it basically functions as a procedurally generated map. The areas that you uncover will be generated randomly. In those areas you may encounter the small white circles. They denote particular events that you can go into, and they will trigger either an ambush or a place that you can dock at, or a cult ship, an enemy ship that's following you. So you have two maps here. You have this local map, you have an overall map, which is so yeah, that just tells you how to move. You move by pressing the left mouse button. So rather than actually setting waypoints and so forth, setting navigational aids, you just move it according to where you place the map on the screen, and then you click where you want to move the ship to. This is the overall map. This shows you the map of your area. This is the ship of the immediate. This is the map of the immediate area. If you wish to travel to a near area, you must move through the gate that has been highlighted at the bottom of the screen. The other gates cannot be opened yet. So these take you to other areas within the overall world map, which is this at the top here. But this takes you back to the immediate area. So we'll go to the gate that they've illustrated, which is at the bottom here. So as you can see here, there's an event blocking this gate. So let's move into the event. A patrolling cult ship has stumbled upon us. Man the guns. We owe them no mercy. So this is the second aspect of combat that the game has, broadsiding other ships. So here we go. Remember the lessons that you have learnt so far. So you man the weapons. So as a tip, as a general sort of guide for people who, certainly from my playthrough of this, my advice is to use the pause button a lot. If you're familiar with games like Faster Than Light, FTL, they use a similar advice, similar strategy for dealing with combat situations. Pausing gives you time to assign your crew to various weapons of the game, the cannons, the chain shot, and the guns, which you can use when your vessel is in close range. And it gives you the opportunity here to issue new orders. This tells you the distance that you're to move the ship to in relation to the enemy ship, which the game talks about in a minute. And it gives you an opportunity to see which systems down here need attention, need repairing, and which crew members need health, or which crew members are unconscious, as we saw previously, and need to be stabilised. So first of all, we'll get our gunner to man one of the cannons. We'll get our marine to arm another cannon, and then we'll resume the game. Up here you've got the enemy health, and up here you've got the enemy systems, which again have their own individual health meters attached to them. So there we go, weapon reloading. So this white bar that gradually fills up indicates that the weapon is slowly charging, reloading rather. So we get the surgeon to mount another gun. So we'll have 3 cannons. So there goes the first shot. So aiming cannons. Now the weapons are loaded. Let's pause. We can fire. Left click on the weapon button to select it. The mouse cursor will turn into a crossbar. It will do. There we are. Move the user over the enemy ship and right click to confirm the order. Fire 2 barrages at the enemy wheel. So this is one aspect of the combat that I don't like. The aiming is a little bit, especially from far away, which I suppose is realistic. It's a little bit hit and miss. What I'd like to see are areas of the ship light up, of the enemy ship light up. So you've got them here whenever you move your crosshair over them, so you know that's that particular system that you're targeting. So for the most part the wheel should be there. So whoops, nope, we can put the crosshair roughly there, and we'll do another crosshair there. So let's fire. Pause the game by pressing the space bar. So again, that's exactly the same as in FTL. You pause the game when you're in combat with the space bar. Once you dismiss this message, you can issue orders when the game is paused. Make use of this if things are spiraling out of control. Crew specialities. So again, this goes back to the prison where you chose your crew. Each crew has their own speciality. It tells you here. This one is our navigator, so he's more proficient in navigation. This one is our marine, so he's more proficient in close quarters. This one is our gunner, more proficient in distance firing, and this one is our surgeon, more proficient in stabilizing and the general health of the crew. So now we can reactivate the combat. We now go on to the distance bar. We want to get close to the enemy ship. The distance bar on the far left shows how far you are away from them. You can set your target distance by clicking on the buttons. Click on the highlighted button to move to close range. So obviously you need to have someone manning the wheel to do so. The ship cannot perform maneuvers to change distances unless someone is manning the wheel. Now I missed that earlier when I played through this yesterday, so the combat took a heck of a lot longer than it probably should have done. So remember to man somebody at the wheel in order to execute a maneuver. So we'll move to close distance. So as you can see here, we are moving closer. So now we have the option to fire a couple of chain shots at the enemy ship. So let's pause and let's assign someone there. So a chain shot, basically, if you're not familiar with pirates and piracy and pirate combats, it basically is a series of cannonballs attached with a very strong chain. The idea is that the chain shot will wrap around something like a mast, bringing the mast down, bringing some of the smaller I don't know many ship terms here, so forgive the very basic explanation. Some of the supporting masts down. Basically, it reduces the rigidity. That's a horrible word to say. Of the mast. So let's resume. Again, this has to recharge. This has to charge up before you can fire it. So our surgeon is gonna man the cannons of the chain shot. There we go, and then we've targeted it at the mast. So you aim it at the mast. The chain shot can only aim at the sails, but dealt with damage to the so let me just pause this. The chain shot can only damage the sails, but deals high damage to them. When it is ready to fire, left click on the weapon button to select it, and then move the crosshair over the sails, and then fire it and deploy the chain shot with the right mouse button. There we go. So you can see here our enemy's health has gone down a lot. It's gone down even further now. So we can fire off another shot. All the time getting close. The closer we get, the more damage that you do. The more precise your weapons will be, as it is in real life. So now you can arm the guns. So we'll get our marine to do that. And this basically targets the crew. When you're close enough to the enemy ship, you can arm these guns, and the guns will fire a couple of rounds off at the enemy crew, weakening the ship further. So let's do that. That will obviously have to recharge again. When you get further on in the game, you get more crew, so you can arm all of these. You can man all of these cannons whilst you have someone manoeuvring the ship and somebody deploying the chain shot, which we'll do again there. Any hull damage? Very minor. So now we can aim and fire. I was taking damage to the crew. Fire the guns. So charging the maneuver bar. Let's pause this again. Let's ram the enemy. The maneuver bar, you can perform special maneuvers to like this. So this is your maneuver bar, like this, when your maneuver bar is full. So when you, obviously, I think this gets affected by how much damage or how well you do in the rest of the combat. The maneuver bar is charged when someone is manning the helm. Ah, I see. So you have to have someone manning the helm. It's not affected by how well you perform. Someone with a high navigation will fill this bar up faster. So again, it comes back to what crew members you take, what opening crew members that you take with you at the very beginning of the game. So once it's full, we can charge. And now it's full. So we'll just get another chain shot off. So now we can charge. As you can see here, we move very close, very quickly to the enemy ship, and now we ready the crew, basically as you would do in real life, and we say brace for impact. Bosh! The enemy failed the brace test. The impact even caused one of them to fall, to be knocked overboard. They can man the winch on the back of the ship to save them. If they don't make it in time, they will drown. Your own winch is highlighted. If any of your crew is in the water, be sure to use the winch to rescue them. So basically, I'm doing better than I did last night, to be honest with you. So far, if you have a man overboard, I think the game actually shouts "man overboard." You can use the winch to rescue them. Now finish them off. You can pull back or keep shooting, or at this range, you can even choose to board them. You can triumph by killing all of the enemy crew, destroying their hull, or making it take on too much water. Keep the pressure on the enemy, dictate the battle, and make sure they are reacting to you, not the other way around. So it's very similar in that respect to FTL. You know, if you are on the upper hand, you can board enemy ships in FTL. You can, once you get to a certain point of the game, once their shields are down. And the combat operates in that sort of way. You know, you react to that. They react to you rather than you react to them. If that makes sense. So we can fire another couple of guns at the crew, like that, and then we could try and board them if we can. Let's choose this, and let's go over and let's board them. Probably not the wisest thing to do, so we'll get them to come back. Definitely not the wisest thing to do. Whoops. So yes, the boarding was the wrong decision. Again, like FTL, it's based on decision making. If you make poor decisions, you will suffer the consequences. If you make good decisions, you will get justly rewarded. So there we go. The cult ship is down, and then you will get a reward, or you will get some sort of special salvage every time you sink an enemy ship. In this tutorial combat, the enemy did not react as aggressively as they would normally. So be prepared for a tougher fight next time. So grab what you can, and now you can leave the combat zone and go back to the exploration. But before you do so, make sure that your ship and its crew are in full health. So at the moment we're not taking on any water, but we are injured. Someone's injured. Let's go and revive him. Let's go and give our gunner some health. And now we can leave the combat. So now the gate opens upon completing that event. I think that event was there just purely to show you the second aspect of combat, and we can move through. And this is the overall map. So this is where we started from, this place here. So we're going to go here into the Great Founding. So we can click to travel there, and this shows you the overall map. So it's quite a big map. and it shows you the various areas and the various gates each area links to. You announce to the crew that you need to take stock and they are not to be disturbed. In the captain's cabin you find some clean clothes, most likely belonging to the poor previous occupant before the cult had their way with the ship. It feels good to be finally out of your flowing ceremonial robes. You stow them neatly away, knowing that they may have their use. They may yet have their use. Yep. Examine myself in the mirror. So now this is the opportunity for you to name your character. We'll call this one Severed One. Opportunity for you to change the gender. Obviously, at the moment, you can only choose one particular gender and the tone of your skin. As a basic character creator that you normally find in like a role-playing game, you don't even recognise the face looking back at you. Who were you? All your said knowledge that your past was stolen away by being you known as father. Some spark within you placed the fog of your blind devotion. Now you must kindle it if you to have any chance of remaking yourself as them. The hunt for answers and revenge can begin. You re-emerge on the deck and the crew snap to attention. We may have escaped, you begin, but we are not yet safe. We must take port, then go our own separate ways. It's me thereafter. You return to your cabin and slump into a chair. Moments later, a strong undercurrent of exhaustion pulls you into a deep sleep. So again, this gives you more backstory. Still loved and always been or thought you were the first, but he knew something which you had changed. Thus you were marginalised, became a symbolic item with no real power. I won't carry on reading this. You have the option to read that when you play, if you choose to play it yourself. A sharp knock on the door snaps you awake. Moments later you stride back onto the deck to issue commands. The cult fortress is far from inhabited lands. We need to navigate through open waters before we can find a port. So now we can review our ship. This takes you to the a similar looking screen to the combat screen, but this time this is what the game terms the lone ship view. This tells you the potential preferred distance away from an enemy ship when you encounter an enemy ship. So we'll go, I've chosen this one, which is like the mid distance. You can save your crew position. So for instance, you can put your surgeon there, you can put your gunner to one of the cannons, and you can put your marine to another one of the cannons, move them to position, and then click this to save the position. If you ever need to return to your crew to their usual locations, you can press that, and that will snap. Yeah, basically that will snap the crew back to their saved positions. The highlighted button can be used to bring the ship about. In battle, this can only be performed if your maneuver bar is fully charged. So if you're encountering a really tough situation, almost a no-win situation, so long as someone is manning the wheel, once that bar goes, is fully charged, you can come about. So now we'll return to the exploration map, and we've come through the gate. You must continue trying to escape the cult by fleeing them from this exploration map. Locate the east gate or the exit gate and complete the required number of events to unlock it. So each event, there's only one gate in this map. Each gate is locked until a certain number of events are completed. So there were those little white circles that I mentioned. So eventually what you will do is, as you move around the map, it will be randomly procedurally generated, and you're looking for these specific events. So for the moment we will that marks the end of the tutorial. It taught you the basics of exploration, how to move the ship, how to respond to various types of weapons, ones that cause hull breaches, hull cracks, ones that cause fire damage, and the basics of broadsiding enemy ships. For the most part, in terms of whether or not I like it, I think it's a very good start. I think it's very nice to look at. It would be nice to have more options to change the resolution of the game, to change the graphical settings, to change the text size and so forth. As you can see, even from that, I was having trouble reading some of the tutorial text. I think the combat needs to be refined. It needs to be a lot clearer, so you know that you're targeting specific enemy systems and not just hitting and hoping. Aside from that, it's a very good start. It's really for those who like these types of pirate fantasy games, Pirates of the Caribbean and so forth. As somebody who used to like reading books like Treasure Island and stuff, there's an event there which we'll go to. It's a really sort of nice introduction to the world of fantasy shipping, fantasy piracy, etc. And I think that over time it will improve and it will get better, and I think it's a very good start. I certainly do. So let's see what this event's all about. A long formation of ships of the line indicates a prominent cult fleet. One of the smaller ships pays off to investigate you more closely, or peels off. We must flee. Attacking now would be tantamount to suicide. It seems the cult vessel is making more of a token threat, and it makes no serious pursuit, so we can move off. So, as I said, there are specific events that you have to complete to unlock unlock the gate. Let me just have a so you have this is your journal. So you've got the map, you've got the quest log. So at the moment it shows you the quests that are available. It shows that the quests that have been completed. So we've got, this quest is called Escape. So the cult reaches too long. We must travel far to escape their clutches. We've finished a sub quest. We must flee the area. So that's our quest and our sub quest. So crew management, again, this tells you the crew that you have available. That's you, the captain. The ship management tells you this gives you the option to upgrade certain aspects of the ship as you get the weapons and so forth as you get further into the game. The tutorial log, and you can close your journal. I'm pretty sure somewhere that's the map itself. So I assume. So yeah, right clicking just basically zooms out. So that's the known world. These are various areas of the ship, of the map rather. So you've got, this is the Great Founding, this is the Shattered Empire, various sort of like districts, areas of the map that you can travel to later in the game. Oh, how does one close this? That's nope. Close tutorial, of course. And that gives you the quest. So obviously the events that you need to complete to unlock the gate are random, and you have to completely discover them yourself. So there's another one. Let's see what this one's about. A distant cult ship has been spotted. You lean both hands against the rail and stare at the vessel with unwinking concentration, watching as it maintains its divergent course. It looks like they haven't seen you. We can't risk having spotted us. The risk is too great. Attack, and then we can drink and sleep easy. So this gives you another option to... Decision making is important. So I think we won't pursue them and so forth. So that marks the end of the video. I do hope you've liked what you've seen. I think it's a very, very good start. Many of its elements are very similar to other games. I've mentioned a lot of FTL similarities with decision making, events and so forth, with the combat elements very similar to that. So those who are familiar with that game will like what they've done with this game. I hope that there are going to be more upgrades to this game. I hope they're going to add more elements to it, give you more options to choose from and so forth, and give you more gameplay options. There was another gameplay that I probably was going to show you, but called Combat Campaign, but the story mode I think is the most important and probably could help you decide whether or not the game is of any interest to you. So thank you so much for watching another week of Huey highlights, and I hope you enjoy the game.